Welcome back to Coin Explorer, the place where ordinary pocket change becomes a portal to history, mystery, and sometimes genuine surprise. Today, I'm holding a small silver-colored disc that millions of people have used every day without a second thought. The United Kingdom 10 pence coin from 1997. It looks familiar. It feels familiar. And yet, when you look closer, this little coin whispers stories that reach far beyond its face value. If you're watching this because you love coins, or because you're curious about how tiny things carry big stories, you're in the right place. Let's start with what you see at a glance. The 1997 10 pence is a round, silver-toned coin that was meant for everyday use. Payment for a bus fare, the tip for a waiter, the small change that slips from pockets into jars. Its surface is stamped with two main sides, the obverse with the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, and the reverse with the crowned lion, a classic motif from British heraldry. The coin is made from cupro-nickel, that pleasant, durable alloy of copper and nickel that gives it a silvery appearance. And it's designed to be handled, carried, and trusted. Hold it for a moment between your fingers, and you'll feel the tiny ridges along the edge and the shallow relief of the lion's mane. It's designed to be tactile as much as visual. But here's the thing. A 1997 10 pence can also be a little time capsule. It was minted in an era that sits between a more mechanical, industrial process and the precise, modern techniques that came later. The portrait of Her Majesty used at that time was the third official coin portrait by Raphael Makhlouf, and on the reverse, the crowned lion, regal, fierce, and steeped in symbolism, connects each small coin to centuries of British identity and imagery. That duality, everyday coin and symbolic object, is what makes numismatics so compelling. What seems mundane at first glance often carries craft and intention at a scale our daily eyes don't usually appreciate. Why make a fuss about a 10 pence? Because in the world of collecting, context matters almost as much as the object itself. Coins are tiny witnesses to social change, to design trends, to shifts in production methods. A small die crack, a faint doubling of lettering, a slight misalignment. These are the kinds of tiny irregularities that can turn a common circulation piece into something collectors chase. And with the 10 pence, especially issues around the 1990s, there are subtle varieties and proof issues that reward close inspection. Let me take you into the human part of this story. Imagine a coin roll being opened by a collector at a flea market in Britain on a rainy afternoon. Underneath the rusted tin stash, a gleam. A 10 pence from 1997, lightly worn but with an odd scratch pattern and an unusually sharp strike on the lion's mane. That single coin can spark weeks of research, forum debates, and expert examinations. Why? Because collectors and museums don't just buy metal, they're buying a story, a provenance, and a physical link to a moment in time. Now let's talk about rarity and value. But I'll be careful here because YouTube's policies about misleading claims matter, and so does honesty. It would be irresponsible to promise a precise dollar figure for any single coin without certification and expert grading. What I can say, and what's honest, is that certain 1997 10 pence pieces, especially in pristine condition or with verifiable minting anomalies, can be worth thousands of dollars to the right buyer. That phrasing is intentionally cautious. Thousands, rather than a fixed headline number. Markets are driven by condition, documentation, and collector interest, and those factors can push prices up or down. Let me walk you through the signs that might indicate something worth investigating. First, condition. A coin that looks crisp with minimal wear, clean fields, and well-defined details will always outpace a heavily circulated example. If the queen's hair ringlets are visible, the lion's mane has texture, and the lettering around the edge is sharp, that's a good start. Second, die varieties. These are the slight differences that appear when the mint uses different dies, sometimes intentionally, sometimes through the subtle wear and re-engraving of the dies themselves. Seek doubled dies, repunched dates, or variations where letters appear slightly shifted. Third, planchet flaws. These are faults in the metal disc itself, small voids, laminations, or odd edges. And while some planchet flaws can detract, others are curiosity's collector's prize. It's worth sharing a real-world kind of narrative to help ground this. A collector in a British club once told me about a 1997 10 pence that came from the pocket of a deceased relative. At first, it was dismissed as circulated change, but it had a subtle doubling on the date numerals, something the collector noticed only under magnification. After photographing and posting to a collecting forum, the coin attracted the attention of a specialist. When it was sent for grading, the doubling was confirmed as a mint variety that had not been widely documented. The coin didn't make flimsy headlines. Instead, it found an appreciative buyer who valued the documented story. That's the responsible arc: evidence, expert confirmation, and a realistic market outcome. Now, let's pause and appreciate the coin's design, because this is also part of its emotional pull. The crowned lion on the reverse is not decorative fluff. It's a signifier. The lion passant guardant has been used in English heraldry for centuries, and placing it on a small coin acts like a tiny seal of identity. The obverse portrait of the Queen is, for many, a quiet reminder of continuity and ceremony. When you hold the coin, you're holding an object crafted to sit between the intimate and the institutional, a piece of national imagery small enough to fit in a palm. Next, a practical guide for anyone who thinks they might have something special. Step 1. Don't clean the coin. For collectors, original surfaces are sacred. Cleaning can remove patina and destroy the microscopic evidence that graders use to judge originality. Step 2. Photograph it. Good lighting, a consistent background, and multiple angles will help specialists judge whether it's worth grading. Step 3. Consult resources. There are excellent hobbyist forums, online databases, and coin guides that catalog known varieties and common errors. Start there before spending on certification. Step 4. If you decide to get a professional opinion, photograph everything and get multiple assessments. Grading costs money, and knowledge protects your investment. It's worth mentioning proof coins and special sets. In 1997, the Royal Mint produced proof strikes and presentation sets that were struck with special care on polished planchets. These proofs often display mirror-like fields and frosted design elements and are intended for collectors. A 1997 10 pence proof in original Royal Mint packaging is part of a different market niche than a circulated example. Proofs are collectible because they were intentionally made for preservation and display. If you find a 10 pence with mirror fields and no circulation marks, consider whether it might be from a proof set. How does grading play into all of this? Grading services examine a coin's strike, luster, surface preservation, and any detracting marks. A coin graded at a high numeric level, indicating near-perfect preservation, will almost always command a premium compared to raw, ungraded pieces. Grading also protects both buyer and seller because it provides an independent opinion on condition. If you're considering sending a coin for grading, factor in the cost and the potential market benefit. Grading can be costly, but it can also make the difference in trust and realized price at auction. Another important factor is minting context. In some years, the Royal Mint adjusted production volumes or altered production workflows. Those changes can affect how many high-quality, uncirculated examples survive in collectors' hands. With the 1997 10 pence, much of the collector interest focuses on condition and specific errors rather than sheer mintage numbers. That means a well-preserved piece, or one with a documented minting anomaly, can rise above the sea of common pieces. Let's also talk about provenance. A coin accompanied by documentation, a receipt, the original proof packaging, or a reliable account of discovery, can be easier to market. Provenance helps when verifying that a coin did not come from dubious sources and that claims about uniqueness are grounded in traceable history. That said, even a plain, circulated coin found in a pocket can be valuable to the right person if it displays a certified anomaly or exceptional state of preservation. I want to emphasize a cautionary point about online marketplaces. Inspirational stories exist of ordinary coins selling for surprising sums, but there are also cases where sellers misrepresent condition or buyers overpay without due diligence. Always seek multiple opinions, check recent auction results for comparable coins, and consult trusted references. Auction catalogs are particularly useful because they show what real collectors actually paid for similar pieces. For those who love design and craft, take a moment to study the lion itself. Artists who design coin reverses must translate heraldic and symbolic meaning into a very small canvas. The lion's mane, the curve of the tail, the crown detail. All of that is tiny, intentional artistry. When the mint used dies with exceptional definition, those micro-features stand out decades later and make a coin a joy to examine. Many collectors derive profound pleasure from those little details. It's where art and industrial craft meet. Finally, a simple action plan for newcomers. Get a magnifier, at least 10 times, and a clear light source. Sort coins by eye and touch. Sometimes a perfect rim or an odd sound will catch your attention. Photograph and research using reputable guides, and consult a local club or professional before spending on grading. Knowledge is your best investment. So there you have it. The 1997 10 pence is modest, familiar, and yet quietly rich in possibilities. It bridges everyday life and the dedicated world of numismatics. Whether you are an experienced collector or someone who simply loves a good story, this coin offers a gateway into curiosity, care, and communities that treasure the small things that tell big tales. Thanks for joining Coin Explorer today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a small but storied piece of British coinage, please like, subscribe, and share with fellow seekers. And remember, the next coin you think is ordinary may be the one that makes you pause, investigate, and smile. Happy hunting, and keep those eyes sharp.